If you have ever wanted to just have a database of people that you look up to, that you could call upon, ask any question in the world, this video is for you. I'm gonna show you exactly how you, that's right, you can do that all by yourself. It's gonna be awesome. It's called the Magic Bubble Book. What the hell is Magic Bubble Book? If you right now think of someone that you'd wanna get advice from, right? Ask them a question in your imagination and imagine what response they would give you. You can probably think of something, right? Even if you don't know exactly what they might say, obviously you're not talking to them in real life, but you can do a pretty good job at imagining what they might say. A Magic Bubble Book is basically a book of all the people that you would ever want to get advice from. The reason this is necessary, you think, oh, I have all these mentors to like look up to and these role models. You forget about it because it's all up in here and you're too busy like living your actual life every single day to remember to ask people advice. The first thing that you're gonna do is make your list of people. The trick here is you can't include everybody, right? 12 to 20 people. Let's say like we'll cap it out max at like 30 people. Take some time to go through your list. They can be real people, they can be fake characters. It's a totally personal thing. It's up to you. That's the whole beauty of it. Come up with your list. I'm gonna come up with mine and we'll reconvene. So I finished my list. I have about 16 people on it. If you just put everyone that you can possibly think of, it's less intentional and it's not gonna work quite as well. I also do have myself as a person, which I highly recommend. If anything, that should be the most important person to ask advice from. It's a new day and that's why I look different. So the next step is going to be finding paper to use for our book. The key here is to use something that's a little bit thicker than just normal printer paper. So if you have any like construction paper or like, you know, watercolor paper or like craft paper, that's great. I have this sketchbook. It's just thick enough. So I'm gonna use this. This is what you're gonna do with your paper. First of all, you wanna decide how big you want your book to be. I think I'm gonna make mine this size. So that means we need to cut out a bunch of pieces of paper that are double, that are like this. You cut out 12 of these. You're gonna have spots for at least 19 people, including a couple pages that are gonna be glued into the cover and your title page and your table of contents, plus like an extra page. Now that you have all of your pages cut out and folded nicely in half, this is how you're gonna put it together. You're gonna take one folder, gonna take another one, put it inside. Then you're gonna take another, put it inside. You have 1, 2, 3 sheets of paper, all folded up like a little card. Put that aside. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, nest them inside each other. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the way that they're gonna be arranged is on top of each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Once we stitch them all together, this is how it's going to sit inside the book. 4 of these guys and then 3 folders in each of them. Those are all of your pages. Next, you're going to want to take a sliver of paper that is the same height as your book, and then fold it in half because this is gonna go in the crease. We're gonna make a few marks. For this one, I did from each end 1 centimeter in, then 3 centimeters in, then 4 centimeters in. It doesn't totally matter the exact measurements. They should look pretty similar to this. You also want to make a mark over here to show what side is the top. Then you're gonna fold it inside of the middle of there. And I'm using just like a tweezers, but you can really use any little sharp punching tool because this is how we're gonna punch through the holes. So basically this little piece of paper is for the alignment. So all of the holes are in the exact same place. You wanna do that with every single section and you wanna make sure you're placing each one down the same way because just in case the measurements don't totally line up, you want to keep track of which side is the top and which side is the bottom so that you don't have any mismatching of the holes. And this doesn't need to be totally perfect either. This is just going to make it easier for us to stitch the book together. You want to get a needle and some thread, preferably embroidery thread, but if you just have sewing thread, that's going to work fine too. So you start at one end of your folio and put the needle in through the back. You don't need a knot at the end of your string because you're not going to pull it all the way through. So you're going to weave in, out, just like this until you get through to the other side of the paper. It should look like this from the outside, it's gonna look like this from the inside, and then you have a few inches left of the thread. Then you wanna take your next bunch of paper and put it right on top. You're gonna start the same way by going in from the outside and then back out of the next hole. But before you go back in, you're going to take a scoop of the thread below you just like this. Just catch it before you go back inside. Same thing with the next one. Before you put it back in, just loop it around before you pop it back through. Once you get to the end, you can take that loose thread that you started with and use it to make a knot. I'm gonna do a double knot to be safe, and that's what your first pair of papers is going to look like. Next, place the third one on and do the exact same thing. In, out, in, out. Once you get to that X, just grab the string right underneath you before you continue on. And when you get to the end, take the stitch under you and make a little knot. Before you tie off the end, it helps to tighten the string like this so everything lays really tightly. And once you have all of your pages stitched together and knotted, then you're done. Next task, finishing up the binding for this. You want to find a piece of cloth that's as close to like a meshy cheesecloth as you can possibly get. This is way too thick, but unfortunately this is like the best thing that I have. Regular Elmer's glue is fine. You're gonna want to cut a strip that's the same height. It just needs to kind of cover the back just a little bit, especially since our book is pretty thin. Don't really need this to be huge. You want to really saturate this, push it in as much as you can into the fibers. Just get it really, really gluey. Best method, I think, is to just put glue right on top of this and then try to stick it on. Is it perfect? No, it's definitely not ideal, but there you have it. The next step is going to be putting these in between like books or something else heavy so that they can really just dry, get nice and squished together. You're gonna want a piece of like parchment or wax paper on top of this so that it obviously doesn't stick to whatever you're using to weigh it down. In the meantime, we will get started on the illustrations that go inside of the book. The next step is gonna be finding pictures of the people you're putting in your book, and there's a few things that you wanna keep in mind here. First of all, you want to pick a picture that really speaks to you. It's very important that you feel a connection. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that these are going to be black and white. Once you find your image, you can either use photo editing software or you can just use, whatever's on your phone. You're going to put it in black and white. Then you're going to up the contrast several times, and you want to play around here with things like black point, brightness, exposure. You want to get as close to black and white as possible. So the less gray is in your picture, the better. We're going for this kind of like pop art look, which is going to make it really easy to recreate them onto your book. The picture should be decent enough quality that you get the important details that capture someone's face, but they don't need to be like perfect print quality. And then once you have your pictures, I just put them behind this little like circle thing so that way I could visualize them in the bubble. If you have Photoshop or some other editing software where you can edit a photo with curves, this is what I would recommend doing. You can click onto curves, and then in order to get this kind of pop art look, you want to put this one down here and this one up here, and then kind of play around to see where the best happy medium is. This is going to really help you get into that pop art look. This is how you're going to transfer those pictures into your book. First, what you need is parchment paper. It doesn't need to be white. It's actually okay if it's like brown parchment paper. Basically something that's a little bit translucent, so that way it's easier to trace it. I'm using Sharpie. The last thing you're going to need is some Mod Podge. You can pick this up at like Michael's. Target probably also has it. This is a really, really useful tool. This is how we're gonna transfer it. Take your book, find an object in your house that is a circle, and make sure that that's the size you want all of your little bubbles to be. Next, you're gonna take your pictures, make them that size so they're not too big. So you just make them all the same size. One thing to keep in mind, because we're gonna be transferring these onto the book, they're gonna be like the reverse image. So if you want your pictures to look exactly like the ones that you found, make sure that you flip them now because they're gonna be flipped again when we transfer them on. I'm gonna be using my iPad just because I have one. You can also use your phone or your computer if you need something bigger. You can use the computer screen to trace. I'm gonna show you a tip for touch screens on how you can trace them without constantly adjusting them all the time. Step 1, go to settings, accessibility, scroll down to guided access, turn that on. Now you can go to whatever app you're using. I'm using Procreate. You can also use your Photos app. And now you're gonna triple click the top button or the lock button. When you go to options here at the bottom, make sure that touch is turned off. These can all be on. Make sure touch is off. That's the most important one. Now you're gonna click start. It's gonna have you type in a passcode. And now you're in guided access. This way, if you're tracing something, you're not going to accidentally be moving it around. And to get out of this, you want to triple click the top, put in your passcode, and you can hit end. and now it's all better. You want to take a square of parchment paper, stick that on with a little bit of tape. So I actually did this entire process using Sharpie because I tested it like that, but it really just didn't come out at all like what I thought it was going to. That did not work. But what is gonna work is if instead of Sharpie, you use pencil. I'm gonna redo the process with pencil just so I can show you. And this might look intimidating, but honestly, that's why you have the tracing paper. Wherever there's darkness, you just put darkness. Don't worry too much about if it's gonna look good or not. Just try to copy exactly what you're seeing, and I guarantee you it's gonna be pretty awesome. Once you peel that off, you're going to want to trace another circle and paint it with a thin, even layer of Mod Podge. Then you want to place your drawing pencil side down right in the circle. Be really careful because it's going to start to transfer. Tap down one area and then slowly work outwards, sticking it to the paper. I ended up using this plastic tool I had laying around, but you can use a credit card or even just your fingernails to really seal it in. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Perfect. You want to let this dry and go ahead and do all of the rest of the other ones. Now, while those dry, we're gonna move on to making the cover of our book. We wanna find some cardboard, not the thickest cardboard. Ideally, you want something thin and sturdy, like at the back of sketchbooks and things like that. But any cardboard's gonna do, just something nice and thin, something nice and sturdy. I have this part of a box. You wanna cut out 2 pieces of cardboard that are just slightly bigger than your cover. We're also gonna wanna cut out a thin strip that's the same height as your cover in the thickness of the spine. That's going to be that little section that goes in the back. Once you have the 3 pieces of cardboard, you're going to want to find some fabric. Now, there's a specific type of fabric for making books. I don't have that. I'm assuming you also don't have that either, so we're going to work with what we have. I do have this really nice velvet scrap left over. Don't overthink this, you know, find something that is cool that you like. It can be like a rag, it can be old clothes that you were gonna throw out anyways. That's how we're gonna bind it. It's gonna give it a really cool look. Start by laying your cardboard out like this with a bit of a gap in between to allow for some movement. I'm tracing the shape so I know just how much fabric to cut out, and then I'm adding a little under an inch to all the sides to have extra fabric to fold over. Once I have my fabric, I'm placing the cardboard on again and marking the corners so I know exactly where to line it up. Then I'm going back in with our trusty Elmer's glue and placing that down. Once all the pieces are glued on, I'm cutting the corners of the fabric because they're going to be unnecessarily bulky, and then I'm gluing all of the edges so I can wrap the fabric around to the front. You want to pull it nice and tight, give it a good firm stick, and do that all the way around. And that is the exterior of your book, which we're going to put aside to let fully dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of our little bubble heads. Once the cover is dry, it's time to paste in the pages. So I started by covering the inside with glue and then pasting the first and last pages onto the book. I then went around the edges to glue them down and try your best to center it. Mine got a little bit shifted when I closed it, so there's some wrinkles, but it still works totally fine. It's the next day, it's been drying overnight, and look how fun that is. The edges aren't perfect. It's wrinkly. There's this weird like fold in there, and it works. Like, we have a full book here, and don't worry about those edges. It's all good. Next step is just going to be pasting in all of those bubbles. I'm just using regular Elmer's glue. Give it a nice press. You want to make sure that when you're doing it, you know what page you're starting on. If you want to have like a little table of contents, or if you want to have like a title page. I'm putting a piece of paper over this so I can press down firmly without having to worry about smudging my drawing. You'll also see me using a glue cap just as a tool to give them all a firm press. Next, we need to tackle the cover of the book. I started by sketching out my title with pencil and then some marker so that it bleeds through on the back. I was feeling pretty confident about my ability to freehand the title onto the book, but I did need a bit of a placement guide, so I ended up cutting out each piece and dotting the back with paint. This way, when I place it on, it acts almost like a stamp that can give me a rough placement of the words. Here I put down the other pieces before I took them off so I could line them up with each other. Then I went back in to trace the letters out using the design I made as a guide to reference. I had this whole method of using fabric glue and squishing it in, which worked really great when I tested it, but it just wasn't working very well on the actual book. Forget the fabric glue. You don't need it. However, if you don't have it already, buy the Mod Podge because that's what you need for the other stuff, and it's also what you're gonna use for these words. Grab a little brush. It's okay if it's a little stiff because we're gonna be kind of pushing it around. Grab your Mod Podge. I like to put a little bit of the Mod Podge onto a tray or something, just easier to use. You want to load up your brush and then give it a little twirl. That way it's all concentrated on the very tip and you can sort of control it a little bit better. You're just gonna let it sit on the top. You want to grab a nice little glob and just gently let it sit on the top. It's okay if it's really thick, and you can also use that thickness to kind of create thinner lines, just like that. So you want to let this dry. It should be pretty translucent, so that's how you know not to mess with it too much. But this is probably going to take a little while to dry, but it's definitely worth it. And we're gonna get this nice embossed look. Mod Podge is dry. You can see there's some white parts. These might be still a little bit squishy, but as long as it's pretty much solid and dried on the top, you're good to start painting. So that's what I'm about to do right now. Title is all dry and this thing looks insane, like so cool. I also did add the title on the side too, so it looks really cool. This one was a lot easier because everything was straight. The only things left to do are add table of contents, a title page inside, and then I'm gonna show you how you can embellish your bubbles just a little bit to make them feel extra magical. To start, I painted the title on using those iridescent paints from earlier. I actually decided not to do a table of contents. I think it has more of a magical and mysterious feel without numbering the pages, but I did go in with those iridescent paints and do some light strokes around the edges of each bubble. It's a little hard to see on here, but it gives it just a little bit of shimmer that really makes them come to life. Since I had an extra page with no table of contents, I decided to go back in, add a poem that serves as the instructions for this book. I think this just gives it a really old school magical feel, like I'm opening some sort of old tome. If you're making yours and you want to do this too, feel free to copy mine. And with that, we're all done. And that is your very own magic bubble book, totally complete. I hope you guys found this video interesting. If there are any parts of the process that you want to know a little bit more about, please let me know and I can clarify that for you. I actually was already starting to use this during the process of making it. Like when I found myself procrastinating, I would like look at specific people in this to help me get motivation to finish it. So I'm happy to say this is already working and I just think it looks so cool. If you like this video, please give it a like and let me know. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, I actually did a Pinterest challenge where I made the first outfit that I saw on my Pinterest feed. And if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel. I've never done this before, so this was a bit of a learning curve too for me, and I'm happy that you came along in the process. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.